It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and TanMan.
All right, everybody, welcome in to episode 64. We're going to start doing that. We're starting naming the episode number in the intro. Episode 64 of the Border War.
That's
I'm
just
the TanMan.
episode 64 on Spreaker, though, right?
Yes.
So we actually probably...
I don't know what we are.
We're probably close to 100.
Yeah, I just didn't feel like going back and counting all those.
It's cool. I can do that next week if you want to get real, like actually have the real number, but it's whatever. Whatever,
yeah, but
man.
then the whole... the
people
whole
will be like, they're missing 40 episodes. These guys
are
are amateurs, which is really absolutely true.
Today, maybe not tomorrow. Who knows?
Never know.
I'm the TanMan. I'm here with BG. We are back on it. We want to thank you for joining in. We're getting ready to talk some college football. I guess that's going on. That's what they say. BG, before we dive into our box, let's take a look around. There's a lot of losers out there. Give me some winners. Give me some winners from this past weekend, because there's an awful lot of losers.
I'm gonna go with the Kentucky Wildcats. First 4-0 start, and I think since 2012, I think they said. And I've seen polls that have them ranked as high as 13. I think the official poll has them at 17. Is that right?
17. Yeah.
Obviously, they'll be hosting the South Carolina Gamecocks Saturday night, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I mean, Kentucky, a school that, much like your Tar Heels, not really known for football, more of a basketball school, but. This Kentucky team's not a joke, man. They're not 4-0 because the high school I went to. I remember back in the day we played one of the toughest schedules in the state of South Carolina, and every year they'd be 4-0 because they'd play a bunch of little 3A schools out of Greenville, and everybody would be like, "Ooh, the back." Nah, we weren't. But that's not this team. This team's a good football team.
I saw somewhere the other day that Kentucky and Duke basketball have been ranked in the same poll something like 500 something times. This is the first time in the AP poll that Kentucky and Duke have been together in the top 25.
Wow, yeah, Duke's sitting at 4-0 too.
Say Duke slid in there too.
Not quite in the same conference. We'll talk about that in a second too. But
my big winner is the North Carolina Tar Heels. They finally got a win.
They did get a win.
They finally got a win. They look good.
You told me they would. I didn't believe you. You tried to tell me, and I was a doubter.
They look good this weekend, and you look far and wide across the country. I don't think that you will find a team that got off the schneid this weekend that looked worse than they did for the first 2 weeks, for the first two ball games.
True enough.
I give the Tar Heels my big winners of the week.
And dealing with some stuff other than football, too. Let's just be honest. I mean, it's Eastern North Carolina's kind of caught it over the past 2 weeks, weather-wise. No joke. So to deal with all that's impressive. At
that loser, there are plenty of those, BG. My big loser of the week. It breaks my heart. I hate to say it. My man Scott Frost at Nebraska has gotten off to a difficult start out there, to say the least. Lost their backup quarterback before the season started. They get rained out, stormed out, whatever you want to call it, their first game. The first game they actually get to play, they lose their starting quarterback, and then Saturday at Michigan, I'm not even sure what happened. I mean, that was just
a butt whooping.
A butt whooping, to say the least. So I believe they will be good down the road.
How patient do you think they are right now?
With Scott Frost being at the helm, I think they're going to give him more time than they would give the average person. I think he inherited a mess. It's been a mess that has been kind of brewing for the last decade or so, and they're going to give him all the time necessary to get it turned around. But right now, they're not good.
Is this a situation like what we've got in Tennessee right now, where you feel like there's just a lot of poison in that program that has to be squeezed out, and that it might be ugly while it's coming out?
Tennessee's a perfect example. These things are not going to turn around. When you make, if it's one thing if you make one bad hire, but when you make 2, 3 bad hires, things start compounding.
Sure.
A different kind of feel starts creeping into the program, and I think Nebraska is in that same boat. Like I said, give him time. It's not going to be pretty while he goes through some things, but when it's all said and done,
let's be honest, he's running a very
different
different system, and he's running an offense, and he doesn't have the personnel to run it. That's a big part of that, too.
Yeah.
My big loser of the week, it was very difficult to not put Virginia Tech because, wow. People talk about Appalachian State winning at Michigan.
No.
Back in the day. This eclipses that. This is up there with not quite to the status of a number one seed, Virginia losing in the dance back last March, but it's close.
It's almost as bad as the Citadel.
Old Dominion had lost the
South
week
Carolina
before to Liberty 45-0. Is that right? And then they were 0-3, had gotten kicked in the teeth by the Fighting Jerry Falwells, and then they go into Blacksburg, and I just that's stunning to me.
I can't believe did you see the size of their running back?
I didn't see any film.
That guy was a monster. And all you ever hear about Virginia Tech is Bud Foster's defense.
Right. Special teams and defense.
They wanted absolutely no part of trying to tackle this guy. He was like a dump truck just rumbling through.
If he's playing at Old Dominion, I mean, not we like last night I was watching the Steelers and the Bucks, and I forgot which team it was, but one of them had a nose tackle that graduated from South Carolina State. And my wife is like, how in the world does Clemson or South Carolina not get that guy? And I'm like, he could be a convicted killer. I'm like, you don't know the whole story. I mean, a lot of these guys, I always use Florida State. It seems like 2/3 of them go to Florida State and do something crazy.
Yeah.
And then they end up having to go to a smaller school. And that's probably the case with that guy. But you're right. I mean, you can never make assumptions, and as one of our local sports talk guys likes to say, football is a matchup sport, and he is right about that. And sometimes when you have a guy, much like in basketball, that's hot or that you just can't guard him, doesn't matter how much talent you've got elsewhere, it can cause problems, and clearly it did. But my loser, that being said, is the entire ACC. Boston College, preseason hyped up, they're going to challenge Clemson, all this stuff, loses to a terrible Purdue team. I mean, you did just across the board, the ACC. I mean, I've been listening to Clemson football fans defend the ACC for years. I haven't heard a peep. They're even saying, you're right, we're terrible.
There's no defense for what's going on in this conference now, and that's not to say anything of Clemson's division. That Atlantic division, it's like all the terrible teams are in that half. You're talking Louisville,
which
Florida
used to be
State.
the opposite of the truth.
Right.
And Louisville, boy, they have just dropped off the face of the earth, man. What Lamar Jackson apparently was managing the entire athletic program. I mean, I don't know. I guess he was playing defense too. That football team is awful right now.
And like I said, I thought Boston College would hang in and at least let that half of the conference save face.
They would be a well-coached team, right?
But
a lot of three-star guys, chippy defense. No.
You can't get beat by Purdue. I don't care where the game is played.
I've always liked the Boilermaker. I don't even know what it means, but I like that mascot. I like an unusual mascot. Not something really stupid like Tigers or Bulldogs.
I don't even know what a Boilermaker is.
I think it's something to do with making the inside of the train. I mean, there's a train on their helmet, right? Isn't there a train?
Yeah, there's a train in the logo.
Yeah. I think I might become a Purdue fan. Well, you have 93 schools. Why can't I have two?
Hey, if you want to be a Purdue fan, knock yourself out.
You have to admit, it is right up my alley with their level of success.
Yeah, go knock yourself out.
It's got PG written all over.
I'm not going to fight you on being a Purdue fan. I can assure you.
Okay.
Let's get in the box, BG. There's some big news down from around Clemson. We've talked about it. You said, last week? That no, the quarterback discussion is not on, and if it is,
you misquote me all the time.
If it is, then it wasn't ever really off.
That's what I said. Exactly right.
But Dabo pulled the trigger. Give him credit. I didn't think, we talked about it before, I didn't think he really would, but by Joe, he's done it. He's done it. Trevor Lawrence is the new starting quarterback down there.
Is this... okay, so let me ask a question, because I've heard it and I've seen the tweets. I haven't read in depth yet. Is this a situation where it's just a little nod to what, what he's done, and the plan is for Kelly Bryant to get as many snaps as Trevor Lawrence was getting as not the starter, or do we mean he's the starter, he's going to take all the snaps unless we're on a goal line situation or he gets banged up?
I haven't heard.
That's what I want to know.
I haven't heard any specific quotes. If you go back in and look at what he has said before, he has consistently said until one of them separates themselves on the field, they're gonna split reps.
Yeah.
To me, this says, okay, Trevor Lawrence, in their eyes, has separated himself from Kelly Bryant, and so, like I said, unless they get into a situation where Bryant's running abilities would help, I think the man from start to finish now has got to be Lawrence. I don't think you can keep flip-flopping.
No, I don't think
you can't go. If Lawrence struggles, you can't go back. I mean, he's your guy now, for good or for better or worse. I think he's the dude down there now.
And obviously, I'm about to bring up a lot of points, none of which are things I've thought of. I've seen them all over the internet. Obviously, with the new redshirt rule, you know where I'm going with this. Mm-hmm. There's already been a lot of discussion of, well, if you're Kelly Bryant, do you say, well, guys, thanks for the opportunity. I did come close to winning you a national title, but obviously that wasn't good enough. I've only played in 3 games this year. I think I'm going to take a red shirt for the rest of the season, and I'm going to take my talents elsewhere next year. Do you think that's a thing? I personally don't. I don't think that there's any part of Kelly Bryant that thinks that way. I haven't seen that. If he was a transfer option, he would have transferred before he ever became the starter at Clemson. Am I wrong? He waited for 4 years to start, or 3 years.
Yeah. If this were the situation down in Alabama, Jalen Hurts is not from Alabama. He's from Texas, so he's not from there. He didn't grow up there. He's got another year to play. I think he took a red shirt, didn't he? Or no, he graduated. Anyway, he can play 2 more years.
Right.
He can play 2 more years after this. Bryant's from here. He's from Renton, right down the road, not too far from Clemson. I'm sure he probably grew up a Clemson fan his whole life. No, Bryant's not. He's not going anywhere. And where would he go?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the thing. I mean, where would he go?
Where would he go where he expects to have a better football experience than he's had at Clemson?
Yeah,
he's not going to go to Ohio State or Alabama and compete for a job. So and we've talked about this, man. If you're not going to one of those schools, why not just stay? Because here's the thing. They're going to need him again before the season's over. They're going to need him in a situation, whether it's because of an injury or somebody's playing a little cold. I mean, we are talking about a true freshman here. Well, and yes, he's looked great.
Well, I say again, I don't think that you can. If he struggles, I think you've got to stay with him now. I think you stay with him through the struggles. If you have a package for Brian, a package or two, where you have him come in and run some things, but no, I don't expect that he's going to get a ton of. I definitely don't think that they're going to go to the split that they've had through the first 4 weeks.
Do you think you see Kelly Bryant in it running back, in it wide receiver? Is that a possibility? Just out of some kind of loyalty to get him onto the field?
No.
Do you think this changes Clemson's?
He'll be a GA next year, and
probably
get into coaching.
Yeah, probably so. Do you think that this changes Clemson's season prospects? Does this make them a more potent football team? Does this make us think that they can hang with Ohio State and Alabama and Oklahoma in the Final Four? Do you think they're one of the best 4 teams in the country now? Last week you said you didn't think they were.
I don't think it really changes my opinion of them. I don't think they're better. I don't think they're worse. This isn't a move that was totally unexpected. I mean, we all.
I'll tell you who this is.
Didn't think it would have. Didn't necessarily think it would happen or happen right now. But it didn't shock me that it's.
I'll tell you what it does do. It means that Clemson's running backs are going to get handed the football again.
Well, you saw that. ETN's been tearing it up. I think that I saw the quote from Dabo. This is the 4th year in a row that they've outrushed Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech's leading the country in rushing. ETN had another big day Saturday. Tavian Feaster finally got some carries, averaged over 9 yards a carry Saturday. I know a lot of Clemson fans have been wondering where he's been.
Mm-hmm.
So, Hopefully,
Tavian.
Yeah. I've seen that around a time or two. So maybe that frees up some carries for Feaster. I don't know.
My take on it is that, obviously Lawrence is a very, very talented quarterback. But from a football standpoint, I'm just curious what you think it does if you're planning defensively for Clemson now. As talented as they are, is this still not a little easier to defend against than having Kelly Bryant back there, who was a running threat, who could throw the football?
Do you remember the Sugar Bowl?
I do.
They gave Kelly Bryant's arm no respect.
That's true.
In that game.
You're right.
To me, this is all about them. This is all about Clemson looking at what's going on. We just mentioned them. What's going on in Tuscaloosa. Mm-hmm. And even maybe to some degree what's happening up in Ohio State, and going, with Kelly Bryant as our quarterback, we are not going to outscore Alabama with, as Clay Travis calls him, the human cheat code, Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback.
Yeah.
They are not outscoring Alabama. This at least gives them a fighting chance.
And unfortunately, trying to be unbiased here, this is really just my honest opinion of Clemson's defense. I still think against a team like Alabama, that is still the problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't solve the problem of a mobile quarterback like Tua, who can throw so accurately on the run. Wearing that defensive line out, they're going to roll that pocket out on every play. They're never going to let you just set up. And Clemson's secondary, they're going to have to step up and prove that they can handle a team like that. But here's the thing, man, they're not going to play a team like that. There's not a decent. Am I wrong? Is South Carolina the best team left on Clemson's schedule?
I wasn't. Excuse me. I said Georgia Tech. I said Virginia Tech last week.
So is South Carolina?
It's probably South Carolina.
South Carolina, I think, like I said, and this week's going to have a lot to say about that. South Carolina has a chance to be ranked, 21st, 22nd when they meet Clemson. I said a couple of weeks ago that probably Clemson wouldn't play a ranked team unless the Gamecocks were ranked. Here's the thing that would concern me if I was a Clemson fan. Now, you got a true freshman quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. With the ACC the way it is right now, can you lose a game? Can you have a Syracuse?
Clemson, yes.
What if Notre Dame doesn't lose? What if Oklahoma doesn't lose? I'm just throwing out scenarios there. This seems to be one of those years where there's some really bad football teams out there.
There are some teams in conferences. You've seen it with Oklahoma, where you can get a mulligan. This team can get a mulligan. But another team from that conference, you remember the first year they had the playoff with Baylor and TCU.
Right.
They didn't.
No, they don't get a mulligan.
They don't get the mulligan. They don't get the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
I think Clemson, even as bad as the conference is, when everybody wanted to dog the Big 12, Oklahoma would get the benefit of the doubt. I think there's some teams that are going to get that benefit no matter what conference they're in. Clemson's one of them. Now, yes, they could get a mulligan, but at that point, it's not necessarily. I see what you're saying. It's not necessarily all in their hands. It's not an automatic, but it's not an automatic disqualifier like it would be, say, if Virginia Tech were to go and run the table from here on out, or any other one-loss team were to run the table from here on out. A one-loss team out of the ACC, not named Clemson, has no shot.
I don't see anybody.
It's hard to envision anybody from that conference beating them.
Yeah.
It's just not good.
And people always bring up the rivalry, but realistically, in the South Carolina Clemson game, there haven't been a lot of upsets in that series. The better team almost always wins, and that's Clemson. I don't in Death Valley. I don't see Clemson having a lot to worry about really before the end.
Yeah, hopefully it's a little more competitive than last year's game, because that one got talked up. You talked it up. I think you were giving you guys a real fighting chance in that one, and it was over very, very.
It was
early.
over by the end of the first quarter, and we don't want to re-prosecute that. I still think a lot of it was mental mistakes on our part, psyching ourselves up, out, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, Clemson was the better team.
Man, look,
period. Obviously.
We got other things to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you guys. You guys got a good win Saturday. A good
Not
win.
a great win.
Not a great win. Not a great win. A good win. It was a good win.
Make the point, TanMan.
What are you trying to say? That's my point to you.
What are you trying to say?
Go up to Vanderbilt.
I just clapped, by the way, like an inch from the microphone. So
you guys,
if I blew your speakers out, sorry.
You guys go to Vanderbilt on the road, dealing with the weather delay, with a good football team, not a great football team, but a good football team.
A C-plus football team.
C-plus.
3-star football team. Look,
37-14, man.
Here's the thing. I was able to watch some of the first half. I ended up having to watch the most of it on my game tracker on my phone, which is an interesting experience.
Stop pushing the game
tracker,
tracker,
I'm trying
man.
to say, man,
terrible.
it's so much easier to actually know what's going on and to see stats as opposed to like what the TV shows you. But what I was going to say is like I wonder. Okay, I'm just going to wait on you to finish. You done? Can I talk?
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right. So,
game tracker's stupid.
I've got, how long do we have? We've got, I can wait until the mic turns off here. I wondered if South Carolina's offensive and defensive lines were actually on to the eye test as dominant as it looked like they were with me watching just a description of each play and the yards being gained. So when I went back and watched the game later that night, yes, they were. And I mean from the first snap, South Carolina's offensive line had the best game I've seen them have under Muschamp. Ken Law and the defensive line, obviously, in the second half especially, caused all kinds of problems for Vanderbilt. But again, let's take this with a pinch of salt because I think this game, and I bought into it because I did think South Carolina would win, but I thought they would win by 1 point. So I took Vanderbilt with the, and I gave the points. I think this game got hyped up a little bit more. I think the Georgia loss was not as big of a deal. I tried to tell everybody that after the game, and then I forgot it myself. Georgia's just that good. South Carolina is a B minus football team. And people, we need to remember, they beat Vanderbilt 10 years in a row. This is not a feather in your cap. It's a nice win, like you said. But this week, this is a football game.
You mentioned Javon Kinlaw. Pro Football Focus graded Javon Kinlaw out with a 97.1. You know where that ranks among all the players in college football?
I'm going to say 1.
It rated him the number 1 player in college football this past weekend at 97.1.
My problem with that is that he was completely invisible versus Georgia. He got manhandled the entire game, thrown onto his back, and to be honest with you, I'm going to need him to show up like that against Kentucky and then against Texas A&M. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from him, but I'm a Gamecock fan. I've been here before. I've seen guys have great weeks and then disappear. And I'm concerned that that's going to happen because without a pass rush, we still don't have DJ Wanham back, who was our entire edge rush for the entire second half of last year.
Okay.
Wanham's a little banged up too. I'm not happy about that.
You mentioned the defense. The defense did play well for the most part. They did give up 5 runs that went over 10 yards. They gave up a few more pass plays that went over 15. There were some missed tackles out there. So they've got to clean some of that up. But again, you just mentioned the big thing: staying healthy. You missed Kinlaw some out there. Brian Edwards missed some time out there. Rico Dowdle missed a little time during the ball game. So you had some guys getting banged up a little bit.
Yeah, and it was announced today, Ortre Smith out for the rest of the season with a knee issue. He didn't play in the game last weekend. We do have enough talent at wide receiver that I don't think it's a crippling
wide receiver.
Not a crippling move, but a little more creativity in the pass game. I did think it was good that we stuck to the run.
Wow.
We pounded the ball up the middle, but again, I just don't think Vanderbilt is – what we did up there is what South Carolina should have done. That game could have been – I mean, if you watched it, there were some turnovers that were just sort of lack of concentration, one of which was probably not really a turnover. I think he was pretty clearly down at the goal line. But that game could have been 55-14 pretty easily. It was more one-sided than the score. So, like you said, a good win, but – it feels like a great win. It feels like the first half of a football game, and the Kentucky game feels like the second half of that game. If you come out of this at 1-1, I still don't think you know much about this team.
One thing I do like to see, that rushing attempt number. down there. 48 rushing attempts, only 28 passes for Jake Bentley. I think that's right in
the number,
Bentley's sweet spot.
Are you the guy? Did you tell me this, or did I hear it on the radio? When he throws 29 or fewer passes, he's only lost 3 games in his career.
Yeah.
When he throws 30 or more passes, he's only won twice.
Yep. Now that 28 attempts right there is right in Bentley's sweet spot, because you've got running back depth. That Dowdle and Turner and Tyson Williams. You've got plenty of guys to spread those carries around with.
All 3 of those guys feel like they can come onto the game and be your featured back for that game if they're hot. All 3 of them.
Absolutely. And so between the 3 of those guys, you're looking at over 30, almost 40 carries between the 3 of them.
And you've
nice job.
You've got a left guard who's likely going to be a first-round draft pick. You should be able to run the ball behind him. You should, against most teams.
Yeah,
just not Georgia.
Yeah, like I said, it's a good win.
Not a great win.
It's not a great win. It was really good, really good. Another good win. My Tar Heels. They finally get one. Finally get off the schneid. And when I pull the stats up here, I've got to go way deep to find them because they're not even on here.
You have to click on other games.
North Carolina 38-35 over Pittsburgh. I didn't realize this till I was prepping and getting ready for the show. This is 6 wins in a row versus Pittsburgh. Last year it was 34-31. The year before it was 37-36 on last second touchdown pass. So 6 wins in a row. The last 3 have been by a combined 7 points.
Pittsburgh, a football program that a lot of people I think don't realize anymore, was an absolute powerhouse.
Terror in the 70s and 80s.
Powerhouse in the 70s and 80s. And I'm still convinced it was when they left their stadium. That was the end of it.
What, that stupid-looking egg thing?
I love that stadium, man. We have had this argument so many times. They play in an NFL stadium that's half empty. It looks awful.
Yeah,
it looks awful. It's got no. It's like Temple and
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Them and Temple was on TV the other night. I saw this. There was like 19 people in the stands.
Yeah, it's awful, man.
But the Tar Heels, Nathan Elliott finally stepped up. They finally found some offense. Elliott, 22 for 31 for 313 and a couple scores. No turnovers. But to me, the big story with this one, we've harped all season long about the penalties and the discipline this program had.
Right.
They had 5 penalties for the ball game, and through 3 quarters they had 1. So I thought getting back home. Now, I won't say getting in front of the home fans because they weren't there. A lot of empty blue seats in that place Saturday. But getting back home,
I've noticed that is a kind of recurring theme in a lot of stadiums right now. College and pro. There are a lot of empty seats in stadiums, period. I think a lot of people really like their television. I don't think fewer people are watching football, but I do think fewer people are watching it in person.
Well, that's always been said, the in-home experience,
changed.
It's changed from what it was 25 or 30 years ago.
Let's be honest, man. When I went to Clemson games and Carolina games when I was a kid, I didn't encounter the sorts of behaviors that my children encounter now. And sometimes we talk about it, and I'm like, you know what? Just not feeling it today.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like being around 1,400 Georgia fans in the upper deck at Williams-Brice. And I certainly don't want my 4th grader around that. So, I think that's some of it. But I think it's mostly the TV and the surround sound and the Yeti coolers and the couches that light up with cup holders.
To be fair, I don't want my 6-year-old at Williams-Brice, period. Antonio Williams, the Ohio State
It is fairly
transfer,
intense compared to what you're used to up at Chapel Hill. I could see why you would. You need.
Well, it's just a different, more sophisticated breed of people. We don't need to be down there with all the hooligans down at Williams-Brice.
You know what? I'm just going to let you go with it. It's all good. We can play you guys again at the beginning of the season, and we'll find out.
Okay.
Listen, what have we beaten you like 19 times in a row?
The doors to the Dean Dome are open anytime you want to show up.
No, you're talking about football stadiums.
Open anytime you want to come, man.
Well, we were trying to play you guys for a national title, but you had to go rig the Gonzaga game and get the refs to prevent us from winning it so that you could get an easy national championship.
You didn't want them problems.
No, you say that now.
I said it then.
Now, I remember hearing you in the room when you thought nobody was listening. Please, God, I don't want any Gamecocks, man. Keep Frank away from my boys.
Yeah. I said that then.
I love how you just make everything about basketball, man. We're sitting there talking football, and here you go. Continue. Only you have the lineup for the show. Continue, sir.
No, I made it a point to make sure you got it today. If you're not referencing
I know, but my screen isn't up. I have to type my password back in and everything. Okay,
that's your fault.
Okay, so we're going to talk. We're still talking.
Antonio Williams, 16 for $114 and 2 scores.
Have you settled on a quarterback now? We're good?
Well, we'll see. Chaz Surratt is supposed to be the canceled game. Yeah, I thought he got 4 games, right? Apparently, it was only like a percentage of the season, and so because we lost the game, he's now eligible to return. Now, if we add a game to replace that, he has to sit out a 4th one. Surratt is eligible to return. They've got a short week, so that's going to be interesting to see what Larry Fedora does. They've got a short week. They've got Miami Thursday night. So far, it sounds a lot like Dirk Cutter down in Tampa. Mm-hmm. Fedora has been really non-committal to that quarterback spot. I don't like the look of Dirk Cutter. I just want to say that he gives me the creeps. He looks like a substitute teacher that talks to the cheerleaders a little too long. Where's Larry Fedora on the hot seat scale? 10 being he's gone. One is Dabo Sweeney. So where's Larry right now? I think he's sitting somewhere about a 9 still. Yeah, because like I said, he got a win. Yeah. So you're not going to fire the man after a win. No. But you still think there's a good chance he doesn't make it out of the season? I still think there's a really good chance that he doesn't come back this year. I think the price tag is just too high. It's kind of ridiculous, really. Yeah. You're not going to win the. I mean, I don't know what you'd really get out of firing him during the season. So I've kind of come around. I've kind of changed my thinking. God, you just feel like the entire ACC is there for the pick and roll. I mean, you're not going to beat Clemson, but you could sure play for the ACC championship every year if you're at North Carolina. Nobody else wants it, but right? No, not. I mean, I get that Duke is 4-0, but come on. So I'm interested to see what he does with Surratt coming back. My expectation is that Elliott will stay on for another week, and that it'll go a week by week thing. With Surratt eventually taking the job back. It's not like he was lighting the world on fire when he was in there to start with. They were sort of like I said about Jameis Winston last week. I mean, the controversy, but I'm like, you guys act like Jameis was going to be MVP before all this happened. They had 2 wins on the season when Surratt went down last year. Right. It might have only had the 1. It might have had the 1. I think Elliott got the 2. So it's not like Surratt was blowing the world up. I mean, he's young. He's okay. He's played, 7.5, 8 games, 9 games of football. Well, of course, next year, we'll see. Your redshirt kid comes into play, and I really think you have to hope he takes that job. Well, his name slips my mind, but the kid from the Western Plains. Yeah, look, there's another freshman out there now. The name is Cade Fortin, I think. Cade Fortin. A lot of Tar Heel fans were hollering about putting Fortin in there after the first 2 ball games. You have to be careful with that stuff. Yeah, I think Elliott gave him the best chance, even though he played terrible and they were bad. I think going into it, Elliott gave him the best chance because during training camp when he and Surratt were going at it side by side before all the shoegate, that shoe fell, a lot of folks thought Elliott outright won the job. Yeah. So, we'll see. The quarterback spot should be interesting now. So we'll see what Fedora does with it. It's not an automatic that it's going to be Elliott. So now I don't think that we talked about mulligans with Clemson. I don't think Elliott has anymore because if he reverts back to Elliott from the first couple weeks, then the trigger will definitely be pulled on that quarterback switch. That's TanMan's opinion. What do you think? Sound good? Ready to make some picks? I just think that if Fedora is fired, it's time for a good long discussion in Chapel Hill about what is expected from this football team, from this football program. Well, we feel like we can compete with Alabama and Georgia and eventually win a national title. Okay, that sounds awesome. Yeah. So let's make some college picks, BG. I think didn't break it down. Overall, I went 5-5. You went 6-4. So congratulations on being slightly above mediocre.
Picked up a game.
You still trail by 2 overall. Chris in Chapin, he went 7-3
You know why I beat you
last week.
Because I talked you out of that Panthers pick, man.
I was ready to kick you in the shins. Chris in Chapin, he goes 7-3 last week. So congratulations to Chris.
There's always someone who isn't even doing our show who knows more about football than us.
Yeah.
There's always somebody.
Yeah.
Of course, they are all teaming up on us. There's dozens of them.
Well,
dozens.
They get the benefit of listening to the show and hearing our expertise, and then they make their picks.
Yes.
So get yours in. You can email them in at carolinaborderwar@gmail.com. Of course, you can tweet them at the Border War. They'll be up there and on Facebook as well very soon. Starting us off on the college side. Thursday night, we talked about it. The Tar Heels go down to number 16, Miami. Some of these lines have changed from what I sent you earlier. So
yeah.
But North Carolina getting 19 points on the road down in South Beach. I'm going to start off.
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one. Last year, I think the score for this was 21-16. Carolina coming off of a nice win. Give me the 19 points. I think Miami wins. That's a lot of points.
I agree with you.
But I think I'll take North Carolina and the points.
It's a Thursday night.
On a Thursday
night. It's going to be a
night.
weird vibe down there, and there's no home field advantage in Miami.
No.
I think this is a boring, kind of low-scoring, sloppy game that I don't know that Miami scores many more than 19 points in this game. I think this score is going to look a lot like what you just said from last year. I think you're right. The Hurricanes win it. But, yeah, I think 19 is an awfully big number. Too big for me.
Here's one I'm all over. Syracuse at noon, a noon kickoff. Syracuse at number 3, Clemson. Clemson giving up 23 points.
To a 4-0 Syracuse.
We all know what happened last year. And you can make the argument about Bryant being hurt, yada, yada, yada. But last year, Syracuse knocks off Clemson. Again, I think Clemson wins the ball game. But I'm taking Syracuse and the points. This is going to be a lot closer than 3 touchdowns.
Well, Clemson's 0-3 versus the spread this year. They haven't covered yet, unless I'm wrong, and I'm with you there. I don't want to just take your picks, but give me the orange. I think Clemson wins it by at least 17 points, but that's probably about where it sits.
I think it could be closer than that. I think Syracuse may be one of those criminally underrated teams that's going to hang around, and at the end of the year they're going to be 9-3, and nobody's going to want a bowl game.
Yeah, they've been there before.
South Carolina at number 17, Kentucky. These are your boys. You start us off. Kentucky giving up 2 points.
So we're up to 2.
It's up to 2.
Started off with South Carolina being favored. The betting public has quickly turned on the Gamecocks. Let me just say, because we didn't really talk about this game very much, I think when this season's over, this may be the most important game South Carolina plays.
Isn't this like always the most important game they play?
It really is a linchpin game. because when you lose to Kentucky, well, of course, famously we lost to Kentucky the week after we beat Alabama in 2010, and that was with Alshon Jeffrey and Marcus Lattimore both healthy. How does that happen? Who knows? That's South Carolina football. I'm going to go out on a limb for the first time this year and actually back my guys. I feel okay about this one. Benny Snell is really the key to this game. He has to beat you. Kentucky's defense is no joke, but I think the Gamecocks win this game in a close game, 2 to 3 points.
I'm going Kentucky.
That doesn't surprise me.
I'm going Kentucky on this one. You guys have not shown, if anything, you guys have not shown me that you can come up with a scheme to stop the Kentucky rushing attack. They beat you a couple years ago by doing nothing but running the Wildcat. Benny Snell
That was 3 years ago, by the way. That was not. I'm sorry. It's a completely different coaching staff. That does matter.
My point is, I can't remember beating you so often lately that it all just kind of runs together. Benny Snell might be the best running back in the country that nobody really talks about.
He's the best running back in the SEC.
That's a bad man, and I mentioned it earlier when we were discussing the Vanderbilt game. For as well as Ken Long did, and as good as you guys were, he still gave up some plays.
Sure,
still gave up some chunk plays. I think Kentucky is going to hit a few of those. They're going to be at home. They're ranked. Sounds weird to say. I expect that to be a pretty tough environment.
Oh, yeah.
Saturday night.
I think so.
And so I'll take Kentucky and give the points. and the Wildcats get the outright win. Here's one. The last two games that we've got on the slate, big-time national implications. Number 4, Ohio State at number 9, Penn State. A top 10 team, Penn State getting 4.5. The Buckeyes the favorites. Penn State's +4 in this one. Penn State, one of those borderline playoff teams. Ohio State looks like they're one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the country right now, hands down. Where are you going? I'll let you go first. I've got to collect some thoughts.
I will take the Buckeyes and give the points. I think Ohio State wins this one by 10 points or so.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The whiteout thing. Penn State's going to get themselves so riled up that I think this game matters more to them. I think Ohio State goes in there with sort of a business-like approach. They've seen this stuff before. They have a quarterback now too. Okay,
yeah.
This is not JT Barrett.
I want to talk myself into Penn State just because I don't like Ohio State at all.
I don't either, but I'm trying to win.
And lastly, Stanford.
I don't like James Franklin either. I don't like either one of these teams, to be honest with you.
What do you have against James Franklin?
He's obnoxious.
No.
I don't like bald dudes. Keep going.
Stanford coming off the big win on the road at Oregon, a game that by all what's the saying? Intent and purposes. Is that correct?
Intents and purposes.
I know how you are with grammar.
Well, at least you didn't say intensive purposes, because that's what people write all the time.
With purposes that were intensive, should have lost up at Oregon Saturday night. The Oregon coaching staff just completely botched that one.
My man kicked the pylon.
Stupid. This week they go from Oregon to South Bend. They take on number 8 Notre Dame, the Irish. Finally, with an actual quarterback, it looks like, taking the snaps. Will they hang 50-something this weekend? Notre Dame giving up 4.5 points. I'm on the Irish on this one all day long. Stanford's going to have a hangover from a game they should have lost. Going back across the country at night at Notre Dame with a suddenly explosive Notre Dame offense. Give me the Irish.
Friend of the Whiteside family let me know a couple of days ago, J.J. Arcega Whiteside, obviously from here in Spartanburg. His grandmother just passed away. They're waiting till after Notre Dame to have the funeral. I know a little bit about this kid. I think he goes off.
He's gone off all year.
He goes off in this game. I'm going to take Stanford to win this game.
I say Arcega Whiteside has gone off all year, and as a Gamecock fan, that has got to feel like a giant kick in the teeth.
I love it
every week.
I love it. Him and Quinshaw Davis, my 2 favorite players. Let's keep going.
That's it.
We're done. We're not doing the NFL.
That is it for episode 64. Like I said, make sure.
What's next? What episode is next?
Episode 65.
Oh,
it must be that South Carolina education kicking in.
Yeah.
Had to get a.
That was actually that Wofford College education kicking in. The South Carolina education wasn't in math.
Yeah, make sure you get your picks in. Like I said, you can email them. You can hit us up on Twitter or Facebook. Shout out to Stadium Scene TV. Appreciate what you guys are doing for us over there. Thousands of people every week now are hearing the show. Thousands.
Yeah, it's probably high hundreds. I wouldn't go with thousands, but
we are reaching thousands of people each week.
Yes.
Thousands.
When's the last time you ate at a Taco Bell? We were talking about that the other day.
I want to try one of those like steak and egg.
But when's the last time you eat there often?
It's been a long time.
It's been 20 years.